Hello mates and welcome to the Baron Reviews with me, the Baron, and I thought I'd make a little Blade and Sorcery video to show you guys the features of Update 6. I'm actually not sure what we're calling this update because I made this video before release, so it might be called the... I think it might be called the SDK update, or maybe it's called the Index update. Not sure what Cosby has chosen. But let's go through the features of this update. So first of all, I'll show you is... basically, a lot of the features in this update are to do with the new hands. So, but before we get into that, let's talk about everything else. So, introduced now is full body tracking. What that is if you have a Vive and the trackers for it, you can put up to 3 trackers. So it can be 1, or it can be 2, or it can be 3 trackers, and you can have them on either feet and your waist. And so what that does is it means that if you move your foot, so unfortunately I don't have trackers right now, but you can move your feet, you'll see your feet move in the game. It also means you can kick in real life and you kick in the game. Let me make this clear because I've answered this question like a million times. If you don't have trackers, don't worry, you can still kick. You kick with the button push, just the way it was before Update 5. So all you guys worrying out there because you don't have trackers and you're worrying about kick, you can still kick, no worries. It's just that if you have the trackers, which are completely optional, you can just enjoy those little extra benefits. The same thing is for the knuckles. If you have the new Valve Index, the game will work by the way, Valve Index, there's going to be knuckles support, also called the Valve Index controllers, and it means you can move your fingers individually. Now again, I don't have knuckles so I can't show you, but I'm using a Rift. Don't worry, everything will still work as normal. The knuckles thing is separate. You can still do all the cool stuff you've seen like climbing and all that jazz. So, the big thing about this update, besides kick and stuff returning, so the hands now have presence in the real world. What does that mean? It means that before you used to be able to kind of like phase your hands through shit because it wasn't a physical presence in the world. Now, your hand is in a real space in the world. Before, the only way to make the hand real was to clench your fist, and that allowed for stuff. So that was actually a big addition to the game because it means you could kind of guerrilla around the place by stomping your hands down and like pulling yourself to and forth. But by the hands being permanently in the world, it means you can do all sorts of crazy shit in climbing. So it means first of all, it means you can grip onto fucking everything. So if it makes sense, it'll work for you. So let's see. Oh, new weapons. Show you those in a second. Or fuck it, let's grab one now. So you could, so half sorting, for example. This is kind of like a byproduct of this cool new hand system. Because you can grip onto anything, well now you can half sword. And it's not just a grip point. Like there was... you know, like kind of like the way you remember, like oh fucking hell, like the way you grab onto enemies. There's like little bubbles, you know, to show where you can grab on. Well, not anymore because now you can just literally grab it wherever you want. And people were saying about, oh, well, what about the dagger and stuff? You know, would it work for that too? Yeah, it'll work for anything. Like you could, you know what I mean? You could grab anything. So if this was a dagger, for example, you could, I'm gonna swear there, you could throw it around from the blade. So how that works with the climbing then too is if it makes sense, you can climb it. And by what I mean by makes sense is so you can't Spider-Man up the wall, obviously. But if you can kind of get your hand around it and grip, and remember this is the Rift, so yes, you can climb with the Rift and the Vive and the Windows mixed reality, and all you do is scurry up. It's brilliant. It's really intuitive, and like you can totally miss. There's no latch points, if you know what I mean. Like in the game to climb, you know, you put your hand over something and it kind of latches on. No, not in this. So like you couldn't miss and, you know, scrape and fall totally. But like here's a little bit of climbing. We're gonna go up this, or is it too? Oh shit! Let's see if we can get up those rafters. And there's no stamina, which I'm actually happy to say. So the only physical stamina limitation is your own stamina. Oh. Oh. This is an area I never thought I would be. Oop! It's a monkey across here. Oop. If you want to find out more about the climbing, I did a whole video on it. Ooh! Just like my intro logo. Oh. Okay, so that's the climbing. That's essentially how it is. As I say, if you want to find out more, check out my climbing video. It's about a week older than this video, and you can find tons more information about that. So that's kind of how that's working. Before you guys ask, with relation to if you can grab everything, well, how does that work with enemies? Okay, yes is the answer. You can grab enemies at any point now because it's the same clamp system. However, still needs some tweaking. It's not perfect, and some of the grip in some places can still be rather tricky. Probably because, if you're gripping something like this, you can really easily get your hand around it. But, with the enemies, they're moving all over the place. They're, not easy kind of shapes to get your hand around. So, imagine you're trying to grab this. And, might be tricky if that's an enemy moving around. But, yeah, you can anyway. So you can grab enemies at any point. So that's that. Next, let's take a look at this new weapon spawner system. Cosby has been calling this item storage. And it caused a lot of people to scratch their heads because maybe it wasn't the best terminology to use for what he actually meant. But we got to forgive him because English is not his native language. So the situation was being, as more and more weapons were getting added to the game, it was getting a little bit crowded in here with weapons just everywhere, and it will continue to get more crazy. And also he was trying to think of a system for what he could do about custom weapons going forward. So now you have this spawner in the levels, and all you do is you can just click on these little icons. It'll show you whatever you're looking for. So it's falchion, little description of it, tells you who the blacksmith is. In other words, who made the weapon, and it gives you numerical values on the damage and stuff that the weapon caused. So you can see like what's it going to do in slash damage, what's it going to do in stab damage. So let's say like spear, for example. You can see the damage of the shaft is not that much. Where it's all at is the tip, right? So it's kind of cool because it kind of like gives a little bit more insight to the weapons and demystifies the weapon in that way. So then, yeah, essentially, just when you want your weapon, you can either take it into your hand or spawn it. When you spawn it, there it is. Simple as that. And the cool thing is, there's hidden, whatever you call these icons. There's hidden icons here, like there's one for firearms and stuff like that. The concept being that if a modder added a weapon, if he tags it correctly, it'll appear in whatever icon. Under whatever icon it's tagged as. So that's the solution. There'll be one of these in every level. Whatever weapon you want, just spawn it right there. That's it. Get a little potion here. Anyway, to add to that, there's also the weapon rack in the home now has a function. So the function being you can pick your favorite weapons, and if you add them to the home rack here, it'll permanently stay in the world space. So it's it's not super necessary, but the idea being that, well, I always play with the longsword, I always play with the spear, or whatever the fuck, and you can just come in, don't even need to spawn, just grab them, put them on your back, and you're good to go. That's that. In new weapons, what we're looking at is the long-awaited, I don't know if I can call this a Warhammer, but the Maul. It certainly functions like a Warhammer. So this one is, as you would expect, all about strength. Can absolutely annihilate guys, knock them away, do a lot of knockback damage. A little bit kind of like the greatsword in that sense, I guess. But super cool. Also has a lot of swing to it. Like this is up there with the greatsword, or maybe even past the greatsword in terms of kind of non-one-to-one. Whoops. The Claymore is next, and this is actually a replacement weapon. This is replacing the original greatsword. Now, the reason for that is just because, well, when the longsword came along, it kind of made the greatsword look a little bit crappy because it was essentially just a notch smaller than the greatsword. So the Claymore is significantly bigger than the greatsword, operates much the same way, has the same kind of like trail that you would come to expect if you'd used a greatsword before. Looks super cool. Cool kind of forward tilted hilt. Throw this one back. And finally, the double-bladed spear, which I actually have no idea what this is called in real life. This is also kind of a replacement weapon, or more like a revamped weapon. It's essentially the original double-bladed spear, but the handle is probably about twice as long now, and the blades are also longer. So now there was some people saying they really enjoyed the original double-bladed spear using it one-handed. And that's cool, but I think most people were not having a good time with it because it was a little bit derpy, and they would try and use it two hands, and their hands are like this, and then their hands are getting all ballsed up like this and stuff. So now you can actually use like a two-handed spear. I'm completely rubbish with it. This kind of weapon is way not my comfort zone, but that's cool. And you can also use it one-handed anyway, so you could use it like a traditional spear if you wanted. So that is the weapons. You might have seen a push dagger. I'd post on Reddit about it and said that hopefully it'll be ready for the update. Sadly, it was not ready for the update. Yeah, simple as that. It just wasn't ready. Oh, and actually that reminds me, a couple of people have been asking me about Cosby's Tower, which was the hypothetical map that Cosby wanted to release, which would be a fun climbing challenge map. Yeah, no map either, I'm afraid. He's just been so crazy busy in getting this release out the door. So that's kind of it for all the new features. Other stuff that didn't include in this update is this is SteamVR 2.0 if you're using SteamVR, and you can also rebind your keys in SteamVR, which is kind of nice because if you're a Rift user and you've never played this game with the Vive people definitely have a worse time because the controllers are just a lot less suited than the touch controllers. They're a little bit clunkier and there's less buttons. So I'm happy that Vive people will be able to kind of rebind their or Index people will be able to rebind their controls. That's kind of nice. Besides that, just general bug fixes, little additions here and there. I'll post a full changelog or a link to the full changelog in the description below after the update is launched. But I think that's just about everything. I don't think I missed anything. But if I did, hopefully I can amend it somewhere in the comments. Well, I'll leave it there for today, and hopefully you guys are already playing this and having fun. But that is it from the Baron, and thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers.